the end goal, it's gonna work, but your unit economy is not going to compete with a minimal wage guy driving an e-bike. If technology-wise, you build an amazing drone with a Rolls-Royce engine, that's great. It's gonna be able to do the mission, but price-wise, at the end, you can't deliver a burrito with a BMW or Rolls Royce. That doesn't work that way.
Welcome to the autonomous age, where drones map our cities, robots save lives, and underwater vehicles scan the ocean floor. I'm Shay Senior, and this podcast is your front row seat to the real stories behind the machines shaping our future and the people behind them, from the engineers and researchers to the entrepreneurs and investors. So some careers look like a dream in the industry of drones, air and space. And today I'm so excited to have here Yariv Bash that so far have been able to touch all those dreams of so many people, both in space, in air and autonomous vehicles. So Yariv, great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks. Happy to be here.
So please start from your background. Let's talk a little bit about where you come from. How did you get into the space world? So we won't jump too far.
So I'm an electronics engineer by background, and after doing a few years in the government, I decided that I want to try and send an unmanned spacecraft to the moon. And I started SpaceIL, the Bereshit program, back in 2010. And following that, I went down a bit from 200,000 miles to 200 feet or so. And I started Flytrex, a drone delivery company with Amit, my co-founder. So a bit of space, a bit of air, very far away, very close to the ground. But it's I totally agree with you. It's still amazing when you see something up in the air.
I mean, there are people that are not able to do one of all these in a lifetime, and then we have you. I want to start first with the spacecraft, because you're saying it as if it's something simple that someone wakes up in the morning and says, "Oh, I'm going to work on a spacecraft."
It was evening and alcohol was involved, but yeah.
Okay. So that's how the spacecraft builders begin. What was the idea? What was the goal? How did you build the team?
So back then I was working for the government, and as a side project I was doing an unconference for crazy people. And in 2010 we brought Shimon Peres to our camp. Back then he was the president, and we thought, okay, what could be even cooler than that to do next year for the event? And I thought about building a small rocket, launching it to the edge of space, releasing a small toy spacecraft, taking a video of that and calling that the first Israeli spacecraft. The conference was in an Air Force base, so I thought I'd managed to get all the needed approvals, or at least enough of them, the Israeli way. And after a few weeks, I dropped by a friend's house who helped us to also organize the unconference. And I told him about my idea, and he said, "Well, you're not thinking big enough." So I asked him, "Well, what are you talking about? A nano satellite, a CubeSat? That's like hundreds of thousands of dollars. We don't have that budget in our unconference." And he said, "No, what about the Google Lunar X Prize competition?" And I was like, "Yeah, I remember something about that." And we went online and we saw everything about the competition. The rules were very simple. Thanks for paying up $50,000 registration fee, non-refundable. Good luck. Let us know before you launch. The first team that touches the moon, moves 500 meters and sends back images and videos, wins $20 million. And I was like, what are you talking about? That's like way above any budget that I could imagine. Luckily, Ilan, my friend, lives nearby in Tel Aviv.
Not Elon Musk.
No, Ilan, not Elon. And he has a wide selection of scotch. And as I was strolling the streets of Tel Aviv back home, I asked myself, well, if I'd compete in the competition, how should I name the team? And when I got home, I just, bought the SpaceIL.com domain name.
Let's start with the
Yeah,
domain.
I already bought the domain. That's it, 90% done.
Yeah.
And I posted on Facebook, okay, we have the domain. I also did like pre-registration. You could pay $1,000 to get like a letter of intent. And I was like, okay, all we need is team and money. I did a post on Facebook, who's in it? And a few friends picked me back.
So that's how you build the team for the spacecraft. And then
That's how we started. It was a decade of a journey.
so 10 years, of course, at the same time, you've started Flytrex, let's call it V1. Can you tell a little bit about also you and Amit? What was the idea first?
So when I started SpaceIL, Amit, my co-founder at Flytrex, and I were flatmates. Oops, sorry. When I started SpaceIL, Amit and I were actually flatmates in Tel Aviv. Amit's my co-founder at Flytrex. After a few years at SpaceIL is a not-for-profit. It's only donations, a bit of governmental support, but really in the low single-digit percent. And I realized that this is going to take a bit longer than 2 to 3 years. That was the original timeline. So we brought a professional CEO from the aerospace industry. And I actually, back then I already moved to live with my girlfriend. Amit stayed in the apartment with his girlfriend. Today we're married to both girlfriends.
Wow.
They both studied medicine in Tel Aviv University together. It was fun, interesting. And Amit started playing with drones. And he heard that I'm leaving my CEO position at SpaceIL, and he pinged me. He asked me if I want to play with drones together. We started by doing black boxes for drones. Back then, it was a very different business than today. Consumer drones were only getting started. Lots of flyaways. That's when you fly with your drone and all of a sudden it disappears into the horizon without control. So we had a box that transmitted in real time telemetry and location, those kind of things, so people could retrieve their fallen drones. We had an online site like Strava, like you could compete with friends, those kind of things. It was a nice business. That was our. We realized that drones are going to be interesting, but we weren't sure what's going to be interesting with drones. And after 2 years or so of doing that, we realized that for us, the interesting application is going to be drone delivery. And that's when we started doing drone delivery.
So I want to stop. Like, what year are we talking about? Like, when did you start with the black box?
We started with the black boxes at 2013 or so.
More than a decade ago.
Yep.
Wow.
And we started with drone deliveries in 2015, 16-ish or so.
So it's earlier than Google and Amazon.
I think that
Similar
Amazon, it's a similar timeline.
Yeah.
Google, probably also similar, maybe, a year here, a year there, it's 1 year, who counts?
Time flies.
Yeah, wow.
So drone delivery, and then where are you starting that? You're two guys, engineers in Israel. Where do you start testing the systems? We're talking a lot about bringing it from the field to the industry, if it's commercial, if it's defense. How do you take the next step?
So we actually started with a small consumer drone that we wanted to build. And we pre-sold a lot of them, like a few dozens or hundreds. I think it was in the hundreds. And one of the features that our drone had that no one else had was 3G or 4G connectivity, which was pretty cool. And then you can send your drone beyond visual line of sight to further distances. And we developed an app that enables you to transfer control from one guy to the next. So we can, ask the drone to come to you and land it. And we, marketed it as kind of a delivery app. And we started getting emails from companies from different places of the world. Hey, do you have a bigger product for, commercial purposes? And, we're two good Israelis. So we said, of course, and we sent them a brochure we, made the day before. And long story short, we have done pilots in Iceland, in Ukraine, like 8, 9 years ago, in Costa Rica, in Israel, of course. And yeah, I think that's it. And we looked at a dozen more projects around the world. And slowly we realized that, okay, drone delivery, that's nice, but it's like saying, yeah, I'm doing ground-based deliveries.
Right.
Are you DoorDash? Are you FedEx? Are you Instacart? Who are you? Are you Amazon? They're all doing deliveries, but they're very different companies tackling different markets, different unit economy, business models. It's using different vehicles. And then we start zeroing in on the US suburbs, on doing food, a little bit of retail. And you look at the traditional on-demand delivery companies, DoorDash, Uber Eats. They started with food. Today they're growing a bit. They're going into commercial, retail, those kind of things. But you really have to start with one thing and perfect it. And it's been a journey, because it's not just, we'll talk about it, but it's not just the aviation part. It's the
Right.
product part. It's you might say that getting the product right for the right unit economy is harder than getting the certification.
Very interesting on that. And I want to take us back to Iceland, because we understand that two genius freak drone guys. every request that comes up, you guys find a solution for that, and then you realize that you have to do a pilot somewhere. Does anyone reach up to you from Iceland, or you decide to do it there because of the weather? What's the...
So basically, we started working with a few individuals from different places around the world, and we just we saw who had the best access to the local regulator, who can help us push that forward. Back then, that was the even today it's the biggest hurdle, or initial hurdle. So once we saw that things are moving forward in Iceland, and we had a partner that we saw that has the resources to invest in doing that, that was an easy call.
And looking at Flytrex today, I'm jumping forward. Did Iceland was the right model to duplicate from?
So yes and no. I mean, we were, I think, the first in the world to actually deploy a working drone delivery system, flying above people, above a city, above Reykjavik, the capital of Iceland. So that was an amazing experience. Then the FAA announced that they're working on the IPP, the Integration Pilot Program. That was a program to start integrating drones in a commercial way into the airspace. And I think one of the reasons we got accepted to the program was because of our real-world experience, which back then nobody had. But then when we approached the FAA and started working with them, we had to scratch everything, delete everything and start from scratch, designing a new drone that will be able to be certified in the US by the FAA, which is a very different, kind of thing to do.
70% of the company becomes regulation people.
It's depends on how you count, because at the end, the technology has to adapt and adjust for the regulatory purposes or requirements. So the technology is also working on the regulatory side of things, but they are doing technology engineering.
Right. I want to break down a little bit what is Flytrex as a whole, because you were talking about drone delivery as a service. Is that what you're offering to the food chains right now?
So basically, Flytrex is a full stack company. It starts with the drones. We design, we certify, we produce our own vehicles. And today I can explain why. At the end, a BMW or a Mercedes-Benz is a much better vehicle than an e-bike. Marvelous engineering, you can drive further than with an e-bike, but traditional on-demand delivery guys are using e-bikes. They're not using BMWs. And when you think about that way, it's of course they do. And you can't use a BMW for a burrito delivery. And it's the same once you go up in the air. You need a vehicle that's the right match. It's not the best vehicle in the world. It's the best vehicle for the problem you're solving. And if the problem you're solving is a burrito delivery a few miles away in the US suburbs, You don't need a Mercedes-Benz. It's not going to work that way. So it starts with the drones. Then you have the cloud infrastructure that manages everything in the air. Traffic management of our system. Now in Dallas, we're sharing the same airspace with other companies as well. So we do all of that. You have all the maintenance parts of things. So every time a drone takes off, we count the hours and flights on each part of each drone, serial numbers, etc. It's aviation at the end. On top of that, you have another layer that connects to the different restaurants, to the
Which
back
is an
office.
app by itself.
So it's that's another layer. But
Yeah.
the layer below is the connectivity to our third-party delivery services.
Right.
So it's been announced we're working both with DoorDash and Uber Eats. I think we're the only company that does that. But we also have partnerships with different restaurant chains. So I can be a third-party delivery guy for all of those guys. And on top of that, there's another layer, which is the Flytrex delivery app, where you download the app and you order the food from our app. And on top of that, you have the back office, updating menus and pricing and hours and sales and marketing and those kind of things. And by owning the entire stack, we can really optimize each part to build the perfect system. If I'd come and just, be a drone company and try selling a drone, I'll approach, let's say, McDonald's and tell them, yeah, my drone can stay 20 minutes in the air. It has a 10 ampere hour battery. McDonald's doesn't speak that language. It's
A
not the
different
product to
jargon.
sell them. But because now our KPIs are the, a restaurant KPIs or a delivery company or a third-party delivery company KPI, we speak the language. And the entire culture of the company and all the optimization is done for that. So when I approach a restaurant chain, a restaurant owner, I can start by telling him I'm not going to change a thing. You're going to continue working as usual. Pricing wise, I'm going to give you a much better offer than anyone else. Look at the numbers. Your customers are going to be a lot happier because it's already working, and that's how it works with others. And it's a perfect value proposition for the restaurant partners. And that's what you want to do. That's a product and not a drone.
So you talked about focusing in food, and now you're also focused geographically in Dallas. Is there a specific reason for Dallas being the home base of Flytrex in the US?
You'd see that most companies actually started focusing on Dallas. It was a mix of the, I'd say, so regulatory-wise, we're good to go on federal level. Well, we can open locations wherever we want. We have those approvals, one of 4 companies who have that. But at the end, both regulatory-wise and business-wise, everybody zoomed in on Dallas. It was like the perfect place to start. And on top of that, we actually, now that everybody's working together, we managed to show that everybody can work together in the same airspace. You have to share the same airspace with everybody. So we've done that on the way. That's already working.
So that's another challenge that you had to deal with, but it gives you a few more points.
So yes, it's actually funny. Usually, the first company that starts doing something, you have the beginner's curse or the first mover's curse. You have to really go through everything and open up the way for everybody else. The thing with regulations, and especially with aviation and the FAA, the standards aren't going down; they're only going up. So if when I started I didn't need traffic management, today I also have to build that as well. And now the FAA is working on a
108.
draft, for a new regulatory framework, Part 108. They've released the draft, and let me tell you a secret: the standard isn't going down; it's going up. So the barrier to entry to start working becomes harder.
We're then getting into the trust topic. I feel that drone deliveries in general, that's a system of trust between, you mentioned the Flytrex app that me as a user, at the end, I would have it on my phone. I can use it in order to order food. But more than that, the trust is drones flying above my head. And I would like you to get a little bit more into that topic. How did you manage to do that? There's first the regulation, make FAA to trust you, the restaurants to trust your company, flying a drone with food, that the food will arrive as expected. If you could talk a little bit about that.
So I think that once you see it, for the first time, that's it. At the end, we've got, Dreamliners flying above our heads, and you don't really care. And our drones are a lot smaller and simpler, so it's, they don't weigh that much. So after you see it for the first time, you get it. And you see it with our customers. The first time they're out, the first time our customers, make an order, they're out with their phones, taking videos, selfies, posting it online. We love those things. By the third time, it's just, they're indoors, they get a notification on the app, your food is outside, and that's about it. So that's, we've got drones flying above our heads like we've got Boeings and Airbuses flying above our heads. So it becomes a commodity for the local community.
We saw that Amazon and Google had some challenges with ravens attacking their drones, which maybe made them stop and give you the opportunity to run faster, or
it's this is hard business. No matter if you're Flytrex from Tel Aviv or Google or Amazon from the US, this is a hard business with lots of ups and downs. But they're investing billions of dollars in it, and I'm pretty sure they'll make it. We've done more than 200,000 commercial flights in the US. I'm talking about actual deliveries to paying customers, to people's backyards, not test flights in, Africa or Israel or anywhere else, actual flights. And so far, it's been an amazing experience. When you think about the equivalent, 200,000 traditional on-demand deliveries with people driving cars in the US suburbs, I'm pretty sure we're already like an order of magnitude safer than anything else.
so safety creates the trust. If I'm getting your answer,
It's so you have FAA-wise, you have the stamp of the
Yeah.
FAA. That's a big challenge, and once you have that, people are like, okay, so someone looked at the drone, that's good. But really, once you see it flying, that's basically it.
I want to talk a little bit about Walmart. I know that it's already a long time ago, but if you can get into that, that's a deal that by itself, it's very complicated, and not many companies were able to do that. We have some other Israeli examples, but in completely other fields. If you can talk about the process, how did you get to that point that Walmart had an interest in the Israeli company to do their deliveries?
It's as always, you have to, play out your fishing net as big as you can, wide as you can, and just trust in luck. So back, I think it was a bit after the Bereshit landing or crashing on the moon, Walmart CEO back then, Doug McMillan, I think he just left, was visiting Israel, and the VC that hosted him asked me to come and speak about Bereshit in one of their dinners. And I was like, sure, I'm going to do 8 minutes of Bereshit, 2 minutes about drone deliveries. And they were like, okay. And that's how we got started. And then, he immediately, gave me away to someone else in his team. And that's how we started working with Walmart. At the end, when you look at it, you're thinking, okay, Walmart, Raising Cane's, Chick-fil-A, what's the difference? There's a huge difference. And when you think about DoorDash or Uber Eats versus Instacart, these are different companies. For a US customer, you immediately understand that they're not exactly the same. So when it's a restaurant, you have both the customer and the restaurant. They're eager. The restaurant is eager to get the food as fast as possible. The customer, of course, is eager to get the food as fast as possible. Both are paying crazy amounts for that today with the traditional on-demand delivery companies, because you're using a guy driving a 2-ton car or a 1-ton car to deliver food point to point. It's extremely expensive. And on top of that, everything's packed. I mean, you get a bag, you don't have to educate anyone. All I have to do is get the bag and give it to the customer. When you think about a Walmart operation, well, Walmart, usually when you shop at Walmart, you end up with a cart the size of the back of your SUV, a few dozens of pounds. You buy groceries for an entire week. That's how Walmart make their margin. They have a much, a smaller margin. If it's just, 5 to 10 pounds of groceries, there's not a lot of margin for Walmart and Flytrex to take together. And on top of that, we're talking about it's not a distribution center. This is a Walmart super center. It was built to make you go through it. So now someone, if you're ordering tomatoes, toothpaste, and a hammer, someone has to walk hundreds of feet or even more than that to pick up the items and pack them. And that picking process is extremely expensive, and someone has to pay for it. Now, if the margin is low, who's going to pay for that? Are you going to charge the customer a fortune on top of what he paid? Then, it's not going to be a day-to-day activity. Right. It's going to be, I need a bottle of wine for tonight's dinner. I'm going to order, I'm going to do it once in a while. But it's not going to replace your, daily order for fast food.
So that would be the main difference there. And then having that experience, you've been operating with few restaurants already in that time. How does the autonomy scale look like? Because as I imagine it, it's not one drone for each restaurant, or at least from what I remember, the idea is that there's like one center, let's call it the parking lot, in the center of the parking
station
lot.
In the parking lot, or a piece of grass nearby, and from there we launch our drones, and we just started with doing restaurant pickups. So the drone hovers outside of the restaurant, lowers a hook on a tether, you put the package on the hook, and that's it. From there, the drone flies directly to the...
So he pulls the package up and doesn't
secures
even
it
land.
And flies to the customer. So it's all about those really small details. How do you perfect that? How many people do you need per delivery, per hour? This is not an AI cyber cloud business. This is an operational company where a delivery has to cost a few dollars.
So if you mentioned AI, how does AI take place in the operation of your company?
So on the operational side, we don't use AI. We don't really need it. On the development side, of course, our engineering and R&D teams use LLMs as their Claude and all the other guys. We just use it for programming and developing and those kind of things. But I'm not sure I would go to the FAA to certify something that works on an LLM. It's a black box, and that you're not sure what's inside, and I'm not sure how easy that's going to be to certify. Where you can run a simulation 10 times, the same simulation, and each time you might get a different answer. Not sure how the FAA will treat that.
And when we're talking about autonomy scale, having companies that base it on AI, you're touching a very hard point right now, because we talk about the 108, and there it's not only the UTM management. If companies, as you say, as later you get in, it's harder to be. They would try to close the gap with AI, but then they open up a new challenge.
So yeah, you can accelerate development and write faster code with AI. If you can certify it, that's going to be probably as easy as certifying it with humans writing the code. Yeah. But I haven't seen anyone doing like real-time AI making decisions for the drones while they're in the air. Right. That I haven't seen.
But in between the drones that you have right now, there is already a communication system. They know if two of them are coming back and one is already in the road, how did they do the decision making?
So we have a server that communicates with all drones, okay. And he's basically like an air traffic control. Mm-hmm. Tells each drone where to fly to and where to hold and where to go in case of emergency, those kind of things.
So it's basically points on the way. It would stop in the previous point, the other one passes. and that's already, you can define it as one of the core. You talked about 5 layers. It's one of the core layers in the
Yeah, of
system,
course, of course.
that UTM.
It's also, once you want to start scaling per station, you want to do 100 deliveries per day, 200 deliveries per day, 300. In terms of demand, really, the sky is the limit, pun intended. But you have to design it in a way where there's no chance of two drones hitting one another. And on top of that, you have to make sure that you're in sync with the other drone delivery companies that are doing similar things in the same town.
So there's no request that something bigger would manage the different delivery companies?
So we actually formed a consortium between all companies.
Okay.
Where we all work together to, and we've basically now that's the standard the FAA approves for mitigating the air risk between different drone delivery companies.
Right. And after Dallas, what would be the next city, if we can
I
share?
assume we'll start somewhere close, so probably still in Texas. You want to show this at local scale. How can you take over a city by city? There's no point in spreading out, doing one station per town. You want to do a few stations because then you can have the same regional manager, the same maintenance guy. So that's how we plan on scaling.
So on the operation level, it's easier to manage, you mean?
It's easier and more affordable. If you have the same maintenance guy but multiple stations, then it's less of a burden on each one of the stations.
Yeah, you may be spread faster, but then the headaches that you would get from different stations make it more complicated to advance, and maybe the faster it becomes slower. So I guess it would be Austin.
Austin or Houston, we'll have to see.
In Houston, you have the strong winds, or stronger than Austin. It's interesting because I also use the Waymo now in San Francisco, and it looks like things would start in Texas. Of course, I understand the company's side of things. They would start it in Texas, and then California would be the next point. When getting into California, I feel that the sky is way more busy than the skies in Dallas, in the level that your drones are flying.
So we're flying at like 200 feet or so.
Yeah.
300 feet. It's pretty clear, especially above towns. You don't have like helicopters flying 300 feet above someone's backyard. And if they do once in a while, then we just clear the way for them.
And we talked about focus, and it's very important for me to get back to that point, because I know that we said Walmart, you got different offers from probably different companies or pharmaceuticals or whatever product that they have interest to deliver, but you had to be strong enough to tell them, no, I'm focused now on delivering the burrito, as you mentioned. Is it challenging, like, when you're having a meeting with the board, with the team, to say we're not going to look into that, even though it's a big contract, it's a big opportunity here?
So it's in the past few years it became a lot easier. At the beginning, we every offer we got, we started diving into it and analyzing it. And after a lot of those, we realized that for us it makes sense to deliver food. Anything else gonna move us and defocus us from. I'll give you an example. So delivering coffee, you have to make sure that it doesn't spill. You have to make sure that the dynamics of the drone don't impact the coffee, and don't you don't tilt too much, you don't vibrate too much. It's really fine-tuning everything for a cup of coffee. And on the other side, you have a family-sized pizza. It's it's flat, it's huge, volume-wise. So we really had to design the system specifically for that. If you'll come and tell me, Yariv, there's a factory. Once in a while, they need a specific, O-ring, and but we got those stories as well. Every hour of that missing O-ring, the machine is down, the factory is down, they're losing $100,000. So they can pay $1,000 per O-ring. So, that's a very different business. That's not a high bandwidth, low margin business. That's a high margin, very low bandwidth business. And as suspected, usually those factories are in nowhere. So, yeah, instead of a guy driving for an hour, the drone can do that in 15 minutes. But our current system, it's an e-bike. It's great for inner city, deliveries, but it's not the right solution from town to town or town to factory. So then you realize that you have to build a very different vehicle and system just to support that one factory. And when you look at the opportunity, the total available market, the market pain, etc., once we realized that food is the way to go, we just focused on that, and that's it. Really, we've looked at any other possibility in the market. We've had dozens, if not hundreds, of conversations with different potential customers, and the thing that stood up way above everything else was food. So today it's easy.
Yeah, the decision making becomes easier when you're $100 million company that raised $100 million. So I want to close our conversation with a question about the future and your recommendation for individuals getting into that space. So if a person in 2026 is developing now, let's call it early stage company in air, space, water, or ground autonomous vehicles, what is that one thing that you'd tell him don't do or don't waste time on?
I'd say, be patient. It's going to take a lot longer than you expect. Raise money accordingly. You're going to need a lot more money and a lot more runway than you'd imagine. It's at the end, most companies don't succeed, most startups, and especially when it comes to aerospace, I think it's a bit, if not more than a bit harder than, your typical startup. So make sure that you really understand the problem down to the bits and bytes and how it's going to really each part of the problem, drill down, zoom in, make sure that you understand how your solution is going to solve the problem. Because same with Flytrex, okay, drone delivery, that's a very big word. Once you start zooming in on a specific problem, you realize how complex that specific problem is. You realize, what you have to do to start solving that problem. So,
it's not falling in love with the problem, it's understanding the problem, loving to learn about the problem, and then making your solution fit to that thing. Sometimes we fall in love with the problem and we just present it outside, but we don't think how deep and very specific our solution could be to solve it, right? If I'm getting
exactly.
your words.
Yeah, I like to think of it as an equation. In our case, you have the regulatory variables, what can and cannot be done, and how much time it's going to take you to approve those things that you want to do. You have the operational challenges or variables, what the restaurant is willing to do, what the customer is willing to do, what's the, how fast can they do it, how eager are they to do that. And then you have the technological barrier, what can and cannot be done technologically wise or engineering wise. And once you, play with all those variables, the end result is your unit economy. If operation wise, you need one person per drone to take up the package from the restaurant, take it to the station, the end goal, it's gonna work, but your unit economy is not going to compete with a minimal wage guy driving an e-bike. If technology-wise, you build an amazing drone with a Rolls-Royce engine, that's great. It's gonna be able to do the mission, but price-wise, at the end, you can't deliver a burrito with a BMW or a Rolls-Royce. That doesn't work that way.
I like that analogy because, like, when people ask about drone deliveries, it's basically that's the edge. If you were able to find the right formula of the price of my drone and how smart it is in that price, that's where you create the edge for the restaurants.
And it's how to get that intuition. I had investors of ours, sending me a link to a website with a new drone company, and they're like, their drone can fly further and stay longer in the air and carry bigger payloads. And I'm like, that's great. That's a great van or a great truck. I need to build a scooter because that's what a burrito needs. And that's when they start getting it.
Okay, Yariv, thank you very much. It was great to have you here, and I
My
wish
pleasure.
a lot of luck and to
Thank
see in many other cities the deliveries. I'll be in Dallas this time that I'm traveling to the States, so for sure I'll
So come visit.
pick up an order and come to visit the control station. Thank you.